Hi folks, in this episode I will be joined by Jason Roszak, who is the VP of Microsoft Intune, and he'll be going over his history, his career, and other best practices. So let's get started. Hi Jason, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, can you to the audience introduce yourself?
Sure. Hey folks, I'm Jason Roszak. I lead our product teams for Microsoft Intune. For those of you not familiar, Microsoft Intune is our device management solution for Microsoft. So your iPads, your iPhones, that shiny new blue iPad you have there, all managed by Intune, PCs, Macs, all of that good stuff.
Yeah, really pleasant to have you here. Pleased to have you here. And I know you have been very active in this space for a long time, but before we jump into that,
sure.
A couple questions to get to know you a little bit more and the audience as well. What's your favorite movie? Do you have any?
Oh gosh. So I'll give you a bit of a random one. So I am from Atlanta. That's still where I live today. For those of you familiar with Atlanta, they film a show called The Walking Dead. If you remember The Walking Dead, zombies take over the world, all of that good stuff. Both my wife and I were cast as extras to be zombies, which is a pretty cool experience in that show. So I'm a bit biased. I'd have to say my favorite show is probably The Walking Dead, but mostly the first 2 seasons, and then it fell off a bit after that. But yeah, I'd say the first 2 seasons of The Walking Dead if you made me choose.
That's cool. Like, how does that happen? Like, is there a lot of like preparation happening, or?
You know, it's kind of funny. So they did a casting call for anybody.
Yeah.
We just randomly called them and said, "Hey, we'd love to be a part of it. We're fans of the show. Can we participate?" So you go into a giant staging room with hundreds of people because there's, I mean, if you think about some of these scenes, there's thousands of walkers in the fields. And Greg Nicotero, who was the director, came around the room and asked everybody to show their hands. And he was looking for people with long hands to get their finger cut off to take a ring and have one of the characters propose to another one. So my wife and I were in the room. They came, found her. And anyway, long story short, when Glenn proposes to Maggie and you see the walker get the finger cut off in the close-up, that's my wife. So just randomly reached out to one of the recruiting agencies and got cast. That was my short-lived acting career.
Yeah,
I think those 2 episodes were the end of it for me.
I love that series as well, and it's such a cool story, and probably weaves in a little bit the way how you operate as well as a business. Like, if you don't try yourself, you don't create your own opportunities sometimes in life too, right? So you kind of shot for it, and
absolutely,
and it worked out.
I coached my son's basketball team, and we actually were in the championship game a couple nights ago, and we lost. And my son said, "You know, Dad, you don't really win and lose. You win and learn." And I was like, "Wow, you're 9 years old, win and learn." But I was so moved by it because I think it really speaks to what we do. If you don't take the chance, how can you ever learn? How do you have a chance of succeeding? It starts with taking the chance, whether it's calling a recruiting company to be an actor on The Walking Dead or winning a basketball game.
Yeah, no, that's such a great example. Like, if you don't fail by doing and trying things like innovation, whether it's Intune or Windows 365, it doesn't matter. If you don't push the boundaries and sometimes fail and then improve, it will not happen. And I love that. And it's the same with professional sports and other things in life as well. So another great question, how did your career kind of started? And I know you're very active with community. In fact, like MVP Summit happened lately, and you're like very active, engaging with our community as well. So how did that kind of started, like your career and that like passion of product and community as well?
Sure. Yeah, I started my career in aviation of all things. So I went to Embry-Riddle and did aerospace engineering. My first job out of college was working on fighter jets. So I would do the avionics for the F-35, the F-22, C-130. Cool. Yeah, and you know, I did that for 6 years, was pretty happy with it, but wasn't quite what I wanted to do. I learned that I was more passionate about flying as a hobby than I was building airplanes for a career. Yeah. So there was a startup in Atlanta, for those of you that remember AirWatch. This was right after the iPhone 4, I think, came out, which was the first mobile device with Mel on it. I heard from those folks, they said, hey, we think that it's going to be important to manage and secure these phones.
Yeah.
I was like, phones are cool. It seems like people want to use them for work. It seems like you should manage and secure them. That sounds like a great opportunity. So I moved from the aerospace industry into that, and that was really my first experience with product management. So I was product manager there for a long time. I started in frontline worker space, so thinking about how you manage devices in warehouses and police officers and ambulances and retail stores and all of that stuff. Transitioned to lead a team for Windows management and just kind of worked my way up through there. Loved it. I've always enjoyed problem solving more than anything, I'd say. And I think a lot of what we do in product management is problem solve.
Yeah.
Ultimately. So did that for a long time, got to know the Microsoft team pretty well. So Michael, Brad, the broader Intune team, and made a phone call to them and said, hey, I've always wanted to work for Microsoft. It would be great to join you guys. And that's how I wound up here.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like getting flashbacks of like Top Gun, the movie, and all these things, right? No, it's another great example of like, hey, our problem was like there, like security, mobile, all kind of in the starting phase, and there was nothing at the time, almost nothing. Jumping in that, solving that, really from a problem to a solution. Yeah. I think it's a great example, and I definitely know how our product kind of evolved as well over time, and now kind of includes the whole ecosystem of endpoint solutions. And before we jump into that, like as part of your product management skills you learned as part of aviation, AirWatch, now Microsoft, what are the kind of key things you learned and still apply today as part of your day job?
Oh gosh, where to start? Many. When I think about our role as product managers, a lot of it is critical thinking around problems. We talk a lot on the team about good decision making versus decisions. I look at a lot of times people go evaluate a scenario and they're like, hey, I think the answer to a problem is blah.
Yeah.
Sometimes thinking about something other than the answer, but more the decision making and how you got there. What did you consider? Why did you think that? So we spend a lot of time talking about decision making versus decision. I think that's certainly an important piece. You mentioned it earlier, but the ability to experiment, you have to be able to experiment and learn. Making tough decisions and being trustworthy. That's another thing we talk a lot about. It's people think about product management and they go to these pragmatic marketing classes and they write user stories and backlogs and all this stuff. A lot of what I think about in product management is really building a relationship of trust with your customers, creating a strong foundation, earning the privilege to do more with them. The rest kind of falls into place. There's processes, mechanisms, OKRs, and Scrum of Scrums and all of the things. But it really starts with kind of doing what you say and saying what you do.
Yeah, I love that principle. And some of the things we do very actively in Microsoft is hackathons as well, right? To push the boundaries.
Doing one this week. Yes.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think that's part of the culture, innovation and such, but it also allows you as a PM, as a dev, kind of to crack open the normal kind of daily routine things as well, and really start thinking about, hey, I'm getting signals from customers, and think about a solution based on the problems the customers are raising, right? And it's kind of what you're saying too. Don't start with the tech first, start with like the problem first, and then work from the customer to a product. And I think you raised a couple examples doing that, and that really makes, in my opinion, you a great leader for the team as well. And talking a little bit about the team and the product, Intune has been growing tremendously during COVID, but as well afterwards, becoming really the leading endpoint management solution. With many of the endpoint solutions that we're familiar with, like mobile phones, physical PCs, cloud PCs. In fact, when we built Windows 365 together, we were in the same engineering building in Redmond too. So we both grew so fast that we kind of split. We are now in Windows and you're in security, which makes complete sense. Can you shed some light and tell a little bit more of that story, kind of how it all comes together and how people should think about like security management and the future as well there?
Sure. So when I think about Intune, the core of our product is managing devices. If you look back at kind of the history, folks treated their mobile devices and their PC separate. You even saw separate teams inside organizations. You'd have a PC management team. They often had a set of processes and then a completely separate mobile team. We've seen those largely converge over the last few years. So now, when I talk to customers, a lot of it is about having a strategy not just for their PCs, but what are you doing for bring your own device? What are you doing for the phones that people have? What are you doing about the Macs in your organization? What do you do about the Linux devices in your organization? So when I think about our core mission is to simply and securely manage the planet's devices. That starts with the device. So we've really been hard at work the last few years getting customers to bring their full estate of devices. So, I still meet a lot of people that are trying to figure out what to do with Mac. You can now manage your Macs with Intune. I still have a lot of people who are trying to figure out what to do with the developers who run Linux. You can now do that in Intune. So, the core of our product starts with giving you a robust solution to manage all of your devices from a single place. And that's really the heart of what we're doing in Intune, creating a single pane of glass to very simply manage all of your devices. You shouldn't have to be an expert on the PC or an expert on the phone or an expert in Mac. We want to give you one simplified solution that gives you the best capabilities to manage and secure all of your device estate.
Yeah, and I remember during COVID, for example, the need for simplification was like more than ever before, right? People were sent back home, different form factors came in, all of a sudden you had to maintain all these devices that connect to corporate resources. So hence why focus on security is like top of mind to make sure that everything is locked in, and mobile application management, MEM, app protection, all these things is like built into the Intune experience, the portal, as well as the simplification you apply there for IT professionals. Same with Windows 365, bringing that into the portal and bringing a SaaS offering completely manageable in Intune together as a physical PC is another great example of just make it easy, cloud native as well. And that kind of brings me up to the next kind of question, like how do you envision the future of IT management with like AI, Copilot coming in and doing the management today versus tomorrow, and being more effective as an IT professional while you do 50,000s of more endpoints altogether at once?
Yeah, we talked about learning and experimenting earlier. We are very much experimenting with Gen AI and device management right now. So we leverage Security Copilot. Security Copilot is powerful because it brings together Intune, Defender, Intra, all of your products into a single Copilot, which means you can now have visibility into identity, management, security, all from a single place. It lets us share data. We evaluate over 78 trillion signals. We see 7,000 auth requests a second that are malicious. So there's just lots and lots of great data that we can see. So it starts with kind of a foundation of looking at your entire estate from the device to the user across IT and security. From there, I would say that base enables us to start to simplify how people manage things in Intune today. So a lot of where our focus is right now with Copilot is giving you natural language ways to do things in the product. So imagine logging into Intune and simply asking it in a natural language way, hey, show me all my devices that aren't encrypted. And then let me take action off of that. So we're trying to simplify how the admin engages with the product by bringing in kind of a natural language experience where it's a dialogue with Intune. The other big thing that I think you'll see change, the first is kind of how people interact with the console and find things. The second big thing that I think you'll see change is how people go about doing their job. So one of the places we're investing heavily in is in the creation of agents. And we want these agents to be able to take on tasks for you. And I think that's the big difference between the future and today. A lot of what we do today is IT pros have an intent they want to deliver to a device. Hey, I want this app on the device. We're going to help you get that policy applied to the device. A lot of what we're working on now is how do we help you supplement that creation process. So with these various agents that we're building in the product, you can now start to delegate them tasks. where they will take on tasks for you and they will start to give you recommendations on things that you can do better in the product. So I think with Copilot and Gen AI, we're able to leverage these rich insights and bring them directly to the administrator. So now we're helping them in the process of creating what they think is the right set of policies for devices. We're giving them recommendations and helping them through that process so that they can ultimately more quickly accomplish their task with Intune.
Yeah, I love that, and especially the natural kind of language kind of processing kind of part, because every IT pro has a different level of knowledge of the Intune kind of portal and the features, right? So you can pretty much just ask Copilot, hey, how does this work? Or can you help me with this? And it anticipates kind of based on the user persona and specifics, how to use it and how to explain it as well, and navigate that user to become comfortable using that feature to manage or configure that device as well. That's really cool.
It really simplifies things. And the other one I'd share with you is I really believe agents are going to transform management. We just released, there was a big press announcement about this yesterday, as a matter of fact, our first agent for Intune. Mm-hmm. So it's a vulnerability remediation agent. What the agent will do is it'll analyze your entire endpoint estate. It will discover all the vulnerabilities for you, and then it will help you prioritize which ones you need to fix first, second, and third. So with Gen AI, not only can we evaluate your vulnerabilities, we can look at the risk and their impact to your organization and say, hey, based off the risk and the impact, fix this one first, fix this one second, fix this one third, and oh, by the way, here's an easy button in Intune to fix it. So we're really, with the vulnerability agent, we're starting to tease out how you can now fully automate that process. Before, my security team would give me the list of vulnerabilities. I'd go research them as an IT person. I'd come up with a patch or something to fix it. Now, by bringing these agents directly into Intune, we can go help you understand the risk, the impact, and fully automate starting to resolve fixing these remediations. And that starts to show you some of the power that these agents can bring to really help you. Mm-hmm. I mean, there was one customer I chatted with, a hospital that had 900,000 vulnerabilities. I mean, imagine if an agent can go meaningfully start to reduce those without the human admin having to really look at all these tasks. So just really bullish on where agents are going to go in the future and how they can help IT pros.
Yeah, that's a phenomenal story, and agents are really here to focus more deeply on the specific kind of use cases for a business. So it really makes AI more and more useful, and it's like the sky is the limit here on what it could be in the future more and more, especially with security attacks happening all the time, every day. In fact, I just came off a meeting with a colleague of mine that had to deal with something like that with a customer, and that customer had to face that every day. And with AI simplifying that and making it like almost impossible to do anything of that in the future is just a great story. And I think we only tipped the top of the iceberg here.
We're in the very beginnings, for sure.
So a couple more things I want to highlight here. Intune Suite has been announced like a little more than a year ago, right? And app management or enterprise app management and EPM, enterprise privilege management, all these other tools as part of this suite is another great example of being very customer obsessed and expand the offering of Intune. Can you explain a little bit more there, like how that helps today and what to expect there maybe in the future as well?
Yeah, Intune Suite is a major focus area for us. So I mentioned earlier, it starts with device management. So managing your iOS, Android, Windows devices is kind of the foundation of where Intune is built. But over the years, we've heard consistent feedback that folks want us to do more. So we introduced remote help so that you can very easily have your help desk help users. They can do screen share, file dragging, dropping, all the various things inside of remote help. A lot of folks wanted the ability to start to leverage standard accounts on Windows. So this is something you and I spend a lot of time talking about, removing admin permissions, running Windows as a standard account. Well, with EPM, endpoint privilege management inside of Suite, you can now do that. Likewise, we talked about patching earlier and mitigating vulnerabilities. A lot of customers are looking for a simpler way to do apps. So if you think about the challenge of managing apps on Windows, you've got to go to the internet, download these apps, package them, make sure they don't have vulnerabilities, upload them. With enterprise app management, we've really tried to simplify that process. It gives you a simple solution that lets you bring all of your apps into Intune. We've got a pre-curated catalog, 1,000 apps. You pick the app you want. I want to deploy Adobe. You just press the button to deploy it. Once you do that, we keep the application up to date. We fully manage it. But all of these things come together. We're trying to create more value for customers in the platform.
Yeah, I know, I love that, and that weaves into the story of like Windows 365, where you kind of build a cloud PC, all managed by Microsoft from the cloud, and then with these Intune Suite components, you really kind of make it a full cloud native offering, and with physical endpoints, the same thing. I love that story because app management and maintenance is still one of the, I think, like top 3 things IT pros are doing.
Absolutely.
So simplifying that, having a catalog, doing updates, and having it all coming from one store is I think, something IT pros have been waiting for a long time, and it's glad that it's in the product now. Are there any other things in the Intune Suite offering, like Cloud PKI or other offerings you want to highlight here?
Yeah, we've got remote help, which we discussed. We've got endpoint privilege management to help you move your users to low rights. We've got enterprise app management. We also had Cloud PKI. So the idea there is, a lot of people are still managing certificates for devices with their on-prem ADCS server. Yeah. We wanted to simplify that. With Cloud PKI, you click a couple buttons, you can effectively manage all of your certificates on the device directly from Intune in the cloud. We also have a tunnel solution now. So if you need to use VPN, you can get VPN directly from Intune. One of the other big things that we announced at Ignite was multi-account MAM. So maybe you're a contractor working for a hospital and you need to protect your device across multiple hospitals or multiple organizations that you're supporting. You can do that with multi-account MAM. So there's quite a few things that we do in Intune Suite at this point. The other big one, oh gosh, how did I forget to talk about this? We just introduced multi-device query. One of the biggest pieces of feedback I hear from people is, hey, give me more visibility into what's happening in my environment. Multi-device query gives you a real-time query to go out and collect any information you want from the device. You want to look at firewall, you want to look at encryption, you want to look at asset information. You can very simply now just create a query and go get that data and bring it back. So we'll continue to do more and more inside of Suite. We're nowhere near done at this point, but we feel like we've got a pretty good value set of capabilities that people can use today.
I love that, and that query part or advanced analytics, all these components, that's where I think AI plays a tremendous role too, right? Like, I know queries a little bit, but it can become pretty complex to remember all these queries and such. Like,
if you look at Intune today, the way the multi-device query works is you have to write a KQL query. Writing KQL is hard. I don't know about the majority of you out there watching, but many of our customers aren't deeply skilled in KQL, especially if you look at SMB and education and places like that. What we're doing with Advanced Analytics and Copilot is we just released a capability where Copilot will generate the query for you. So you can ask Copilot in natural language, hey, build me a query that looks for all devices with firewall disabled and encryption turned on. Copilot will generate that KQL query for you without you as an administrator having to have deep expertise there. So it's another great example of how you can use Copilot to help you do complex things like create KQL in a very simple way. You ask Copilot natural language, it's going to give you KQL as an output.
I love that. Yeah, perfect example. I was like recently doing something internally in self-host, and I had to figure out whether a certain service was running on like 10 Cloud PCs. I could just run a query via Copilot, and it just points me to the right query directly without the knowledge needed. So that's just a great example of the power of Copilot and how it can remove the complexity to be more productive as an IT professional. Is there others? Are there any other Intune Suite components or other Intune components, like maybe Defender for endpoint integrations, you want to highlight that are recently new, or parts that are coming up soon that you want to highlight for our viewers?
The other thing I would say about device query, a lot of times folks use Intune to help with help desk scenarios, so they need real-time data. That's a big ask we've had for customers. There's kind of give us access to more volume of data, but also give us data in real time. With single device query, we've built a workflow now where an administrator can help a user. So maybe you call help desk needs to troubleshoot your device. They're not looking at stale data. They can use this single device query capability to go evaluate your device in real time and start to fix things. So lots of investments there. We work very closely with Defender to help converge IT and security teams. We talked earlier about kind of the history where mobile and PC teams came together. One of the big things we're trying to do now is bridge the divide between the IT and security team and bring them more closely. So you'll see us do more with Defender there. I mentioned the vulnerability remediation agent. Well, that's actually using vulnerability data from Defender and Intune to remediate. So you'll see us do more where Defender identifies a challenge and Intune remediates that challenge. And I think that's really where you see Intune shine. It's when we bring together Intra, the identity piece, plus Defender for the security piece and Intune for the management piece. Those three converging lets us do some really unique things, whether it's conditional access or vulnerability remediation or evaluating application control policies. It's really those three working together that helps us do that.
Yeah, and troubleshooting in general, end user IT, I think that's another very exciting angle that you just brought here to as topic, that I think the future and kind of the scenarios there, we can unpack that more and more and help the IT pro to really be more productive, more effective in the future.
You think of a very simple one. How many of us have seen the error codes 00X9683? I don't know about you, but I don't know what that error code means. Like, that's one of the first things we did with Copilot. You can have Copilot evaluate the error codes in a log and explain to you what that error code means. So we think these little simple life improvements are going to make help desk teams much easier.
Tickets, like every ticket costs money for a business, right? So taking that away is one, but also the productivity of the end user, right? We want to make sure that end users are effective in the weekends or after daytime or day job kind of working hours as well. You want to just be sure that the user can resolve their own issues, right? And
I still, one of the big challenges I see with people is they kind of treat security like a dial tone, where they feel like if they turn the dial tone up on security, they turn it down on user experience. We don't want people to ever have to make that decision. Security shouldn't be a dial tone. A lot of what we try to do in the product is create experiences where you can have the right amount of security, but also create a better user experience. You think about things like passkeys with Intra. You really can have the best of both worlds, create a better user experience, simplify things like authentication for them, but also create a more secure environment for your IT and security teams.
I love that. Maybe wrapping up a little bit, is there anything you want to leave the audience with before we close up in terms of the future of AI and management, or things to expect from Intune, Windows 365, or just in general?
I think, the biggest one I would say is Copilot and Intune. We will continue to focus there. I think you said it earlier, we are just scratching the surface on the art of the possible. If you looked at where the product was at a year ago, being able to analyze millions of CVEs across millions of devices and start to determine risk and impact, we just couldn't do. So we have such an incredible new tool in Copilot that we think is going to open just a world of opportunities that we couldn't do before. The one thing I would say there is, we spend a lot of time thinking about how to help people successfully move their workloads to the cloud so that you can use Copilot and other things. So I think that's an important piece of this. A lot of the things that we'll do with Copilot in the future, they're going to require your workloads to be in the cloud. So if your patch is in the cloud, we can do a lot more. If your apps are in the cloud, we can do a lot more. So I think you'll see us continue to invest in Copilot, being able to deliver more capabilities. But there's also going to be a need for customers to move more of these workloads to the cloud. And that's why you'll hear us talk a lot about cloud native Windows, getting your apps, your patch, your policy, everything from Intune in the cloud, so that you can start to take advantage of these really powerful things that we're building with Copilot.
Yeah, and another example here is the new Windows 365 Link device, which is completely Intune managed as well with a Cloud PC. Frontline Cloud PCs, the new shared and dedicated mode offering comes together. So lots to come there. So with that, how can people stay in touch with you? Like if folks want to follow you on LinkedIn or want to ask you some questions, what would be the best way?
Sure. I'm most active on LinkedIn, Jason Roszak on LinkedIn. Feel free, reach out there. Happy to always communicate. I participate, like you said, lots of the community events, MVP summits, Workplace Ninja, MMS, those various things. So very active in the community as well as LinkedIn, and always happy to help. So feel free to drop me a note.
Well, thanks, Jason, for being here. It was a pleasure. Looking forward to continue this great relationship and partnership together. So yeah, thank you for being here.
Thank you.